Hey guys, welcome. This is Catherine and this is Little Bits of Heaven Homestead, where everything we do is a little bit of heaven. So I have been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Thought that was kind of an appropriate statement to make since I am actually setting up my incubator. But literally the last week or so has been kind of crazy. We've had a lot of life changes. I'm holding down the homestead on my own here recently while my husband has been out of town working. It's a temporary issue, but it has definitely turned our lives upside down. But I am also getting ready to travel to Florida. So hello, Smokin' Reptiles Homestead. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. And before I head out on my trip to Florida, and I'm actually super excited about this, I've been a part of homesteading groups on Facebook for probably 4 or 5 years now, where I have made a ton of friends in Florida, lots of homesteaders in Florida, and I am getting a trip out to visit some of my Facebook friends. Super excited. But before I go on my trip, I wanted to get my incubator up and running. So I have a slight incubation addiction. And when I say slight, I don't mean slight. I have a huge and heavy incubating addiction. So if I could keep this thing running all year round, I definitely would. As I've shared before, we open range our flock. We do take some losses with predators. Pretty much you name it as far as predators go, we've got it around here. I've got coyotes that stalk my flock during the day and during the night. At night they are cooped up so that they are relatively safe. But during the day, as they are out, they are definitely vulnerable. So this spring I lost about 20 chickens. I think I've lost about 10 from summer to winter. So our losses have slowed down, but my solution, rather than keeping my flock cooped up because I feel very strongly about letting them out and letting them be chickens, my solution is just to keep my numbers going, and I am pretty much constantly hatching. So I wanted to show you guys, this is my preferred incubator. I did one of the cheap Chinese plastic ones that I think I paid $90 for on Amazon. That I should have just thrown $100 bills in the trash can. They don't keep insulation well. As I had friends recommend to drop them into the styrofoam box that they were shipped in. I did try that. I was constantly having to recalibrate it. It was really frustrating. So then I went from that to a Brinsea. And something you need to know about me is if I can destroy it, I will destroy it. So it has to be pretty simple. The Brinsea itself was easy. I still managed to kill mine after about 2 hatches. I'm not exactly sure how I did that. But I've had this one here, and it is from Incubator Warehouse. It is by far my favorite. And this thing is pretty, I mean, it doesn't get any easier than this. You set it and forget it. It has wells in the bottom here that I went ahead and already filled with water. On this, I only have to check it usually about 1 time during my chicken hatches. I will fill it up about twice with water when I do duck hatches. And the whole point of an incubator is to duplicate the environment as if it were a hen or a broody duck sitting on it. And so there are only a couple things you need to worry about when you're incubating. 1 is temperature, 2 is humidity. And if you can keep those 2 under control, you can hatch pretty much anything. So the hatch time on chicken eggs is 21 days. If you're hatching ducks, depending on the type, most ducks are around 28 days. I believe that Muscovies are a few extra days. I've hatched some, well, I take that back. I incubated pea eggs because I do have pea hens and a peacock. And I got a little overanxious. I was headed out to visit Julie from Dirt Patch Heaven last July. I had them, I expected them to hatch. They were over by about 3 days. I assumed that my eggs were bad. I pulled them out of the incubator. I headed to Idaho because I didn't want to leave a batch of bad eggs in an incubator in a hot, humid environment. I thought that that was a recipe for disaster. What I ended up doing was going Godzilla on my pea eggs, and I destroyed them. I felt really guilty about that, but you live and you learn. So Anastasia says, hello, it's 1:28 a.m. here in Greece. Thank you for joining me. I feel honored. Thank you. So I did go Godzilla on my pea eggs. My daughter, because we're totally inquisitive, we're science oriented, everything in our life seems to be kind of an experiment. And we do what we call we open our eggs and do almost like an egg Topsy. So we just want to check and see where they were at as far as development. Did they even develop? Was there something going on? Did they stop mid-development? Because that'll tell you a lot about the conditions in your incubator and if you need to tweak things. So my daughter, about 3 days after I left to go visit Julie in Idaho, she opened up these eggs and found that they were fully formed and about to hatch. I felt like a pea murderer. So if I could give you any words of wisdom, like I said, I had gone about 3 days over their estimated hatch date. Give your eggs about a week if they're not hatching, just in case, so that way you don't duplicate my mistakes. So I wanted to show you guys, this has a tray, and hopefully I don't drop this as I try and put it in. And what you do not want to wash your eggs when you put them into the incubator, but you do want them relatively clean. So if they've got any sort of dirt and junk, and I thought I'd show you this, so if they've got poop or dirt, you do want to kind of brush it off, but you don't want to wash your eggs, because incubators, as far as the environment inside, it's perfect for bacterial growth. So you want to leave the bloom on here as best as possible. So my cat's always in the middle of everything. He thinks if I'm here, then I'm here to entertain him. So what I use is I use this steel wool, and I just kind of scratch the surface there. So do try to leave the bloom intact as best as possible. If they've got a little bit of junk on them, it's not going to really be that bad. Think a hen in a nest. Her eggs aren't necessarily going to be picture perfect. So I did also want to show you guys, my favorite eggs to hatch usually are my new pullet eggs. So they're usually always fertile, but they're on the small end. So I'll show you a bigger, more mature egg so you can see the size difference. So I like to keep these for either selling or for eating. My little pullet eggs I like to incubate, and I have really good success rates on my new pullet eggs. So, and then I don't know if you guys have seen duck eggs. This is one of my new layers, but they've got this, and I'm not going to incubate these duck eggs. I have a friend who's going to send me some Muscovy eggs, but they've got, I don't know if you can see this real waxy coating. So hey Darlene, it's good to see you. I hope you have a great day too. So, and these guys, there again, you want to leave this bloom, this waxy coating intact when you incubate them. So just to show you kind of what you're looking at as far as the difference in eggs. So I am not incubating duck eggs. I believe that most of my duck eggs are at this point are not fertile. I do have drakes, but both my drakes and my duck hens are Muscovy crosses, and a lot like mules, they tend to be sterile. And so I'm waiting for, and I really want a Muscovy drake. And so I have a friend, I'm trading her soaps and lotion bars, and she's gonna start collecting her Muscovy eggs and also some geese eggs. That'll be fun. I've never had geese. They're an adventure. So, and they have tons of personality, and they can be somewhat aggressive. In fact, when my guard dogs at my business pass away, I want to replace them with a flock of guard geese, because nobody will mess with geese. So, but this hatch here, I'm just going to go ahead and do chickens. Typically you don't want to mix eggs, like you don't want to run ducks and chicks together, just because they've got different lengths of time as far as the incubation. They've got a little different needs as far as humidity. And in a brooder, ducks in general will grow much faster than chicks. So you don't want to brood them both together, because your little ducklings will trample your chicks. I have had a broody hen where I had eggs up underneath her, and I didn't know she had duck eggs, and she did sit on her nest after she hatched her chicks. She continued to set and hatched out some ducklings, and I've had great success with hens hatching out ducklings and chicks and them all surviving, but that's very different than an artificial environment as far as incubating in a brooder. So just kind of things to keep in mind. So here I'm getting ready to set my tray. This incubator warehouse incubator here is pretty self-sufficient. It's got this little arm here, yeah, right here. I had to turn around and look at it, that hooks into the tray, and it moves the tray 6 times a day. And what you're trying to duplicate is the environment that a hen would have underneath her, and she's kind of constantly moving, shifting her eggs around, and so that promotes good development. So hello Alan Travis, thank you for joining me. Good evening to you as well. So that's really all an incubator does, is duplicate that environment. So heat, humidity, movement. If you don't have an auto turner in an incubator, you will want to move them by hand. I want to show you guys this too. I got this locally for just like 10 bucks. It is the tiniest incubator ever. So, and I think she was using it to hatch quail. I like to have a secondary environment for any chicks and or ducklings that when they hatch they may struggle. And so I typically will remove this little egg holder and just turn it on and have it warm and humid, so that way if I have a chick or two that just isn't quite as strong as the others, I can pull it in here and still have a safe place for it. So aside from that, there's really not that much involved as far as incubating goes. The more self-contained it is, and the more hands-off you can be, the more successful of hatch rates I've had. The ones that I have to go in and open them up and manipulate them or constantly recalibrate, I haven't had quite as good a success. This sucker here, this incubator warehouse, it's called an Incuview. Love it. And I have had by far my best success rates as far as hatching goes with it. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. And I'm hoping in 21 days when these chicks start hatching that I am home and I can share that experience with you. I will definitely show you my brooder setup before they come. And again, you just want to control things like heat. And so I have a brooder. Mine is a 100-gallon water trough. I've got it set up in my shed. And my favorite way of heating them is a radiant heat plate, because heat lamps, although effective, can be dangerous, especially when you couple them with things like pine shavings. And chicks specifically, they like to kick and throw up a lot of dust, and so it increases your risk of fire. And I'm always trying to mitigate risk, so this radiant heat, it's a plate that the chicks go underneath, has really been vital to at least my own sanity as far as hatching and brooding chicks. So thanks for joining me, guys. If you got anything of value, please like, share, and subscribe, and we shall see you later. I am hoping to get a show or two in this week, but I will be in Florida, so I can't make any promises. So that's why I'm hopping on today, just to give you guys something. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we shall talk to you later. Bye.